Hi folks, it's Mike Murphy. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to point a custom domain name from Cloudflare or any other domain registrar to your Hostinger VPS so you can open up your Docker applications like n8n using custom domain names like flow.yourcustomdomain.com instead of using the long, ugly IP addresses. About 6 months ago, I made a tutorial about custom domains in your Hostinger VPS. And let's just say that I've come a long way since that last tutorial. So today is a follow-up or an updated version to that tutorial. The prerequisites to follow along with today's tutorial: a Hostinger VPS with n8n installed in a Docker container. And if you don't have a Hostinger VPS yet, use the link in the description of this video. A domain that you purchased and own from a domain registrar. I am going to be showing you from Cloudflare, but it's going to work similar if you have a domain on GoDaddy or some other registrar. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can create your own custom URL, so an easy to remember URL, using a domain name that you own at a registrar like GoDaddy or Cloudflare. But what we are actually doing today, what you're really learning, is how you can take one domain name that you purchase and own at a registrar. So from that one domain, you can create an unlimited amount of subdomains. Subdomain is just the word that you put in front of your main domain and point them to the IP address of your VPS. Every time you add a new app or service on your VPS like n8n, and you want to be able to access that app or service in a web browser using an easy to remember URL, well, you can use the same domain name that you own and then just create subdomains. The subdomain is the word before your domain, and again, you can create an unlimited amount of subdomains. One of the main reasons why I wanted to make this updated tutorial is because in the last tutorial, I incorrectly advised you to point your main domain name to your VPS IP address. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing it, but it is not necessary. You do not have to point your main domain name to your VPS IP address, and you can use your main domain any way you want. You can have it open a completely different website, not connected to your VPS at all. The only thing that you need to point to your VPS IP address are the subdomains that you create to open up apps and services on your VPS. When I first set up my Hostinger VPS, I thought that I could point my main domain name at my VPS IP address and that would open up my Hostinger hPanel. Well, that is not the case, and for security reasons, you don't want that to happen. You only use custom domains and subdomains to open up apps, services, and websites or whatever you build on your VPS. Custom domains are not to open up your Hostinger hPanel, okay? For this tutorial, I installed a brand new Hostinger VPS using the self-hosted n8n template. I have made no changes or modifications. This is straight out of the box install. Sign into your Hostinger hPanel or the VPS dashboard. If you're on the Overview tab, go to Docker Manager, click on Projects, and there you should see the n8n container. I'll click on Manage. Now I'm going to go down here to the .yml or the YAML editor. That's going to open up the docker-compose.yml file. It is in the Traefik labels sections when you're setting up custom domain names. So you can see right here, this line right here is where you're going to set the subdomain and domain name that you want to use. It is also in the Traefik labels where you get the SSL certificate, so your new custom domains that you're setting up get that secure HTTPS. So this brand new install of VPS with n8n, I can go to the docker-compose.yml file and look at this one Traefik line right here and know that if I want to open up the n8n application, I need to put in the subdomain domain name, and I can find those down in the environment box. There's the subdomain n8n, and here is the domain name, this long server name, And I can see that server name is at the top of the VPS. So all we have to do, n8n dot, and then we put in that long server name, tap return, and that is going to take us to n8n. But we don't want to use this long, ugly server name. If we want to create any subdomain name that we want. The custom domain name that I want to use on this VPS is a domain that I own on Cloudflare, mikevps.com. So all I have to do in the environment box is change domain name. I'm just going to erase that long, ugly server and replace it with mikevps.com. So now up in the Traefik labels, anywhere there's a variable that says domain name, it is going to take the value mikevps.com. And now I'm going to set the subdomain that I want. The subdomain is the word before your custom domain name. Now, I have tried n8n in the past as a subdomain, and for whatever reason, Google Chrome kept flagging it as a malicious or dangerous site. So once I changed the subdomain from n8n to anything else, I never had trouble again. You can try n8n if that's what you want to use, but I'm just telling you I ran into issues, so I stopped using it. So for the subdomain, I'm just going to put flow because I know it works. Stands for workflows, so it kind of makes sense for n8n. So FLOW. So now the Traefik labels is saying when you enter subdomain flow dot or period domain name mikevps, so flow.mikevps.com, that is going to open up n8n. I'll update the time zone and the SSL email address while we're here. It is important that you put your actual email address in order to get a valid SSL certificate. So for the time zone, I'm in the East Coast of the United States, so I'll put America / New York for East Coast, so NEW_York. Enter a valid email address, then go to the top of the Docker Manager. To save the changes in the docker-compose.yml file, we just need to click on the button Deploy. Now, even though we added the subdomain and the domain name in the docker-compose.yml file, if I open up a browser window and type out flow.mikevps.com, well, it's not going to take me to n8n yet. We need to go to the domain registrar where you purchased a domain name and create a subdomain that points to the VPS IP address. To find your VPS IP address in your Hostinger VPS hPanel or the VPS dashboard, click on Overview where you see Root Access. This number right here is your VPS IP address. So just copy it, press Command-C, or just click this little icon to copy it to your clipboard. Sign into your domain registrar where you purchased the domain name that you want to use. Then you're going to go to the DNS records for that domain. Then you're going to click plus add record. For the type, you want to select A. The name is the subdomain. So this is the word before your domain that you're going to use. So I'm going to type in flow. And then you're going to put the IP address of your VPS in this field right here, IPv4 address. If you are also using Cloudflare, keep the proxy status to proxied. So you see the orange cloud and TTL set to auto is great. Then click Save. Congratulations, you just created your own custom URL to open up n8n. So this is the subdomain flow, and this is the domain name mikevps.com. It is pointing to the IP address of your VPS. So now when you open up a browser and type out flow.mikevps.com, if you run into this error on Cloudflare that there's an invalid SSL certificate, a quick little fix. In Cloudflare, go to the SSL TLS, click on Overview. It's likely that your encryption is set to full strict. So come over here, click Configure, and change it from full strict to full. Click Save. Now if I refresh the page, how about that? Flow mike.mikevps.com takes me to n8n, and we have a secure SSL HTTPS connection. Nice. When you enter flow.yourdomain.com in a web browser, as soon as you tap enter or return on the keyboard, the browser is going to look up the DNS records for flow.yourdomain.com. And Cloudflare is going to say, oh, that's me. I manage that URL and that domain. When somebody enters that in, we send them to this address. And the address that Cloudflare is going to send the user to is the VPS IP address that you put in the A record. Cloudflare is only going to be able to drop you off at the front door of the VPS. Cloudflare is just looking at the address. That's the VPS IP address and says, we've arrived. You can get to the front door. But if you want to get inside and get to n8n or any other applications, you need to speak to the Traefik cop that is standing in front of the VPS. The Traefik cop says, hold on, before you go inside, I need to check your credentials, make sure you're safe, and tell me where you're going, give me the URL, and I will be able to tell you where to go. So the Traefik cop says, oh, you want to go to flow.yourdomain.com, that is mapped to n8n, which is on port 5678, so just go in the VPS, take a left, go down the hallway, and you will get to n8n. Let's end this tutorial by creating another custom URL to open up n8n just so you can see the entire process. So I'm on my Hostinger hPanel. This is my VPS dashboard. I'm on the Overview tab, so I know that my VPS IP address is under root access. That is the IP address for this VPS. Now let's go into the Docker Manager. So go to Docker Manager in the sidebar, Projects. There's my n8n Docker container, Docker project. I'll click Manage. I'll scroll down to YAML Editor. That's going to open up my docker-compose.yml file. I'm going to scroll down to the n8n section, and the Traefik labels is what controls the domains and the SSL certificates. In particular, this line right here. We've got these variables, subdomain and domain, and you can set or change the variables down in the environment box below. So I've got another domain that I own on Cloudflare called murphbot.com. It currently has no A record set, but this domain could be pointing to another website completely. All you need to do is be able to add A records and point them to the VPS IP address. So back in the docker-compose YAML file, for the domain name, I'm going to change that to murphbot.com. And for the subdomain, I'm going to change that to Mike, just for fun. So mike.murphbot.com should open up n8n. I'm going to deploy the n8n Docker container on Hostinger, so I'll click Deploy. That spins up a new Docker container with the updated domain and subdomain. I am on Cloudflare. I have murphbot.com opened up. I'm going to click on DNS records so I can edit the DNS records for murphbot.com. I'm going to click on plus add record. The type is A. The name is the subdomain that you want to use, the word before your domain. So again, I'm going to use Mike, M-I-K-E. And then for the IP address, I'm going to put in my VPS IP address, which you find on the overview page of your hPanel. Proxy status, I'm going to keep it on or enabled, so I have the orange cloud TTL set to auto. I'll click Save. On Cloudflare, the first A record that you set up, go to SSL TLS, go to Overview, click on Configure. If Full Strict was selected, change it to Full. Go to the bottom, click on Save. Go back to the domain DNS records. Cloudflare manages the DNS records or the DNS settings for murphbot.com. So when you enter mike.murphbot.com, Cloudflare is going to route traffic to this address, which is the public IP address of your VPS. That is going to get traffic to the front door of the VPS, and then you need to talk to the Traefik cop, which handles all the traffic inside of the VPS. And when the Traefik cop looks up mike.murphbot.com, it's going to know, oh, this URL goes to n8n. That's on port 5678. That way, sir. And the last thing left is to test and see if mike.murphbot.com opens up n8n. Open up a web browser. In the address bar, I'm going to type mike.murphbot.com, cross my fingers, tap return. What do you know? n8n. And if I look up in the address bar and click this, I can see the connection is secure, certificate is valid. This is an HTTPS secure connection, easy as that. And the last thing that I want to point out, in my previous tutorial, I added my domain from GoDaddy. I added it to Hostinger. I no longer actually do that or really recommend it. It is not necessary. You can see here in the DNS Manager, there are no domains listed. I am managing all the DNS records on Cloudflare. All you need to do is add A records or the subdomains, point it to your VPS IP address, and then you're just going to set the domain and the subdomains in the docker-compose.yml file. And that is how you use custom domains to create A records and subdomains to make easy to remember URLs to open up n8n and other apps and services on your Hostinger VPS. My name is Mike Murphy, your AI handyman. Cheers.